Okay, I'm just going to jump straight into this. We have another Drakon modded AV Famicom to look at. I have not been inside this yet. Might be awesome, might be a dud, but either way, this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, so I'm trying to do a little bit better job on close-ups and whatnot for this video. The last couple I did was so-so. The first one was terrible, actually, but it was done a long time ago. I will say externally, don't see any real evidence of it being Draconized, other than the screws have been replaced with regular Phillips screws. That's not really a something to criticize somebody about, because that's actually a decent thing to do. It lets the customer have access to the inside of the console if they don't have a security bit like that. You can use a regular screwdriver. But notice these pads are messed up, and I can't point my finger at Drakon for that either. I have no idea what would have. I mean, they almost looked 8 away. I kind of want to remove them and replace them because they're, I don't know, they just don't look right. Anyway, like I said, I have not been inside this. Very eager to get in here. I've had this thing a year. I swear, I've had this console maybe close to a year now, and I just can't find the time to get in here. But Drakon has resurfaced, still spreading his lies, and just making a mess of everything as usual. So I thought, perfect time to put out another Draconized console video. So let's dig in and see what's up. Alright, so I just had a possible epiphany on where he's getting these, because this is from my stash of front loader screws. It's the exact same screw. And he has a habit of not putting in all 6 bottom shell screws. So I think he's saving those just for this purpose. That's very shitty, but seems likely. Are we ready for this? Uh-oh. I can't even get it apart. Yes. I was hoping for a mess. We got it. So, this is something I see. The first thing I see is this. I can't get the top shell off because of this. I've seen this before. People want to put stuff on a connector like this so that it can be easily removed later. And I just don't agree with that, because how often are we really removing this stuff? And to me, a connector like this is just a place for failure. Corrosion can set in on the pins. It's added cost and added complexity. Just wire up 2 wires and wire them into power and ground. They're not that hard to unsolder. Make them hot, pull them off. It's 2 wires. You don't need a connector for that. Oh man, that is a... Well, at least it wasn't hot glued to the base. I mean, that actually looks pretty decent, to be honest. Other than all this... Look at all these hairs of hot glue everywhere. If I'm getting too much light on that, there you can see them a little better. Sorry, my camera does not like to zoom in too close. This is just typical of his way of doing mod work back in the day. It's highly entertaining to me. This seems ridiculous. So that looks like it's going to have to come off anyway to get to the bottom of the board. And my light is right there where it's just completely all the time bouncing off of the camera. Or bouncing off of the PCB is straight to the camera. So this is not one of the infamous debacles of using a Top Gun RGB PPU. This is a normal PlayChoice 10 RGB PPU. Heatsink part is missing, which probably doesn't matter. I want to say it might actually been, yeah, I think the B version of this chip was highly sought after. Possibly because there was less glitches with this PPU than the C. The RP2C03C was the normal PlayChoice 10 PPU that everybody found. And I don't remember if there was a special place or whatever the B. I mean, this is 4+ years ago when we were doing PlayChoice 10 stuff. And you can see we got the, oh, I thought it was a 2075, it's a 1645 Sony RGB to S-Video and composite encoder chip. Also used as an RGB amp. I want to say this part over here was audio. Doing like a fake stereo audio circuit. Yeah, I never understood why stuff like the oscillator was put into a socket. I mean, and it's not even hot glued down, which to me is surprising because that was the whole reason for all this hot glue initially, in my opinion, was because poor soldering meant the wires were coming undone and shipping from getting flexed around. So he just soldered everything down, and that just snowballed until he finally realized he was getting a lot of flack for it, and he quit, supposedly, or used less anyway. So does that mean our F? Yeah, this is this board right here. Multi-Avi's 2. I don't remember ever seeing that before, but I always called it the F-Labo kit. Pretty sure that's what it was. There's the whole board removed. More hot snot hairs and actual hot snot holding solder joints. This might have been before he was using his hot air gun to smooth everything over after all of this was done. Because you could tell in the other AV Famicom video I did, the bottom of the AV Famicom board was just smoothed over with hot glue. By the way, I think this thing was in still working condition, so not sure if this was meant to be like a standoff for the board. It kind of looks like maybe it was sitting on it. And I've talked about this before. I've talked about it in NES-RGB mod projects. This cap could just be removed because this is composite video. I'm not sure about the F-Labo stuff. This depends if we're actually outputting composite on this. Right there is RGB. And I don't have a clean PCB laying around to remember what else is up here. I'm assuming S-Video and composite would be up in here. Makes sense. Audio in, audio out, probably. Which means there is wires running from CPU pin 1 and 2 on the bottom of the board, this area, all the way out to this harness, just so you can have one connector to disconnect it. Not great. Hey, we're missing another screw. We're missing these up here. No, they're there this time. They weren't there in the last video I did. And you had cut the heat sink. It's intact on this one. We had a bunch of what was probably soldering iron marks all over this piece, and that's clean this time. Come out of there. What's going on with this screw? Possibly hot glue. Okay, so as I thought, this connector is holding us in place. Yes, it was just as good as we... Holy shit! Dude! Oh, we're getting a close-up of that. So yeah, he went all the way... Man. He went all the way to pin 40 of the PPU for power, which is not necessary. There's other places you could get it from. But just the amount of hot glue is insane. Ugh. So I think this is why he started using the hot air gun or heat gun. I don't think he had a hot air station for most of this. I think he was just using like an automotive style heat gun, possibly, because he did admit something about it not having nozzles or adjustable temperature and all that stuff. I was like, that sounds like an automotive heat gun then. Man, these things are just everywhere. But that is terrible. It's almost like he was purposely trying to disconnect them, but then his whatever tool he's using just went all over the place. But what I'm saying is, instead of scratching up the PCB like this, there's a much easier solution. Just cut this component. That's the right way to do it. Yeah, I was criticized for my critical videos that I didn't show the right way to do stuff. All I just showed was the wrong way to do stuff. Well, I am trying to point out things that are wrong so that people are like, oh, you know, my entire video, my entire channel is how to do mod work the right way, so gotta be a few videos on the wrong way to do it, right? So FC1 is likely in the audio trace, path, whatever. And I think these two capacitors right here are also connected straight to pins 1 and 2 of the CPU. You could just pull those. You could pull FC1. And you didn't even have to cut it. You could just heat one leg and pull it up. But cutting the actual trace on the PCB, that's destructive. It's hard to fix. I mean, yeah, I guess it's not that hard to fix. You know, solder a wire here to there, you fixed it. But it's never going to look right ever again. Man, I can't remember. I might have to dig out another AV Famicom. Okay, so there's one that's not been all cut up. And I think I remember what it is now. Now that I can see these traces come back over to the cart connector, this is audio to the cart and back from the cart. So expansion audio was mixed in back to the audio circuitry and then out to the multi-connector. And it was mono audio on the far left because those two are connected together. And yes, this AV Famicom has been robbed of its multi-out. Can't remember what the deal was with that. It's probably been sitting here for years. I'm assuming somebody wanted it put into a front loader or something like that. Way back in NES RGB days, 4+ years ago. So yeah. Makes me wonder how well expansion audio is still working there. Oh, maybe he was, yeah, oh, okay. Gosh. Can't see that without removing a bunch of hot glue, but these two traces are severed up in here. Right here. I can see a bunch of scratch marks right in there, so I'm betting if I came down to where those things were, no. I've got nothing now. Yeah, they're all severed. So all three traces have been severed just really poorly. You don't want to do that. You know, I mean, I sever traces on PCBs all the time, like TD16 region mod. It's the easiest way to make that mod happen. But you're not going to see me scratch into ground plane or just go all haywire with it. I mean, that just looks like a crazy person did that. But you can tell there's two legs right there where a cap or resistor, no, it's just a wire. The wire goes back off possibly to this connector. So we had more than just audio in. Maybe we had 3 audio or 4 audio inputs in that connector. CPU 1 and 2 and expansion. I kind of want to remove it, but I also kind of don't want to mess with it, because now I kind of wish I hadn't removed all the hairs either. I mean, this could be a museum piece. Because everybody knows Drakon, everybody knows this is the kind of crap mod work they can expect to find when opening up a console. And I just made it a little tidier by removing all the hairs. But we can't see all of the craziness going on under there. So I've got some more scratching going on there to the multi-out. Looks like there's one long scratch going from between the audio all the way to the 2 ground pins. It's not, the ground pins are not severed, but the scratch does go across them. Why? You know, the other 4 pins between the 2 are not connected to anything, so ridiculous. Ooh, we got some damage right there on that rear panel. That rear panel piece is, or it used to be a sought after piece. Before the 3D printing came along, people used to take these off and put them on top loaders. Probably also the same thing happened to that one. I will say, not the greatest soldering, not the greatest execution, but not the worst I've ever seen. Like the insulation could have been a little bit shorter, so we didn't have so much exposed wiring. Like that looks like a lot right there. It shouldn't take that much to solder those up with the least amount of wire exposed as possible. But that's not bad. It's better than I was expecting for a Drakon console. I can barely move these wires, they're so glued in place. This one's not as hacked up in the bottom as my last one was either. I mean, this one actually looks like it was done a little bit better, even though I would argue this one was done before that other AV Famicom I opened up. So yeah, not quite as bad as I was expecting. Still fun to look at. That's the whole point of this is, you know, I would definitely love to get hold of some of my old mod work and open up for everybody and see how bad it was. Something else I noticed was how dirty it was inside here. That's just all over. And I don't know if that's something else off-gassing, and we got some more hot glue hairs. Oh, I didn't notice that. There's another rib right there that he cut out and is missing, just so he could fit his hot glued mess in there. And that rib that's missing is where I drill a hole and just press fit the LED right into the plastic to shine up into the same area that he's lighting up with a, it looks like a 5mm. I use a little 3mm, I think. So he's got a really big LED. And this was another concern with the LED, was all of the leads and exposed wiring and everything might short against the case of the switch. I don't know what make that dirty like that. I mean, it really seems like something caught fire and that's actually smoke damaged. I don't know. I might actually try to just plug it in and get it to run and see if it makes smoke. Could be that it was smoked up before Drakon got a hold of it and he just never cleaned it. Oh, that's a tight fit. Unnecessarily tight. Guess I'll email the owner and see if he wants me to do anything about this, because that could leave rubber crap on whatever he's sitting it on. And I'm pretty sure the owner of this has a newer NES RGB modded AV Famicom, so this one was just kind of sitting on the shelf. Yeah, let's turn it on and see what happens. The LED is blue. So it looks like crap on the red button. The red button's actually able to offset quite a bit. The blue glow is kind of cool, but the red part of the button is not lighting up like I would like to see. The problem with this is we can't really criticize the video quality because my PVM has started dying in recent years and I just haven't done anything about it yet. Now I have stereo output. I didn't have it on the volleyball, which maybe it doesn't just doesn't have it. Yeah. So it looks dark. Like I said, that might just be my monitor failing. It's all on the left side right now. There we go. Yeah, I remember it being like that. That's about right. I'm guessing if we had the right people look at this, they could say, oh yeah, it's not terminated on RGB lines correctly or whatever. It's been too long since I've done any of that. I couldn't tell you anymore what was supposed to be what. I can tell you last time I did an NES RGB mod. Probably been 3+ years ago. So anyway, not quite as exciting internally as I was hoping. It was still a mess. It's still what we want to see for entertainment purposes. I was thinking about doing this live somehow with like with Voltar or Keptris or somebody, but I kept thinking, you know, what if we get in there and it looks good? And it would be a very good video, you know, it'd be kind of a waste of time. And honestly, I think this guy got a pretty good console. Don't know how much he paid. Probably the typical $400 range or whatever he used to charge for this. And honestly, for having a Drakon console, he probably got out of the deal pretty well, because it still works and it's not overly complicated, convoluted, and crazy inside. There's some poor mod work in there for sure, but we've seen worse, and we might see worse still. Because I've got another one.